Hello and welcome to another episode of The Modern Nerd. I am Sir Slice,
It's merchandise.
And I'm GJC.
and we are, as always, massive nerds. So, it has been a while. Life has happened between the last time we have all gotten together and done this. There's been highs and lows and celebrations and everything. I don't know anything about lows, but whatever. Yeah, we're back. There's a lot of different things to talk about here, and we are going to focus on one thing, really, and that is She-Hulk. But before we do that, as usual, I'm going to say thanks. Thanks for being a part of this, you two. Thanks for, you know, sitting around and chatting and getting opinions out and everything. I appreciate it, and thank everyone that watches. We appreciate you listening to us ramble on about generally not much, just stuff. Sometimes even things if you're lucky. So thank you. We appreciate it. If you're
And
enjoying
beyond.
this and you like watching this, give it a like, give it a subscribe. If you're catching us again on GJC's Twitch, give him a follow. Obviously, you're watching it, so follow him if you haven't already. Subscribe if you can. If you're catching it on the YouTube, The Modern Nerd on YouTube, just give that a like and follow. A good old subscribe would be super great. Other than that, we're going to talk about She-Hulk. Now, if I recall correctly, and I probably don't, we talked about like the first 5 or 6 episodes already, and I think we've got at least kind of 3 to cover. And I believe last time we kind of broke them down episode by episode. I don't remember all of them, so we're kind of probably going to end up just doing a more general discussion and talk about things as we remember them. As we can see by our wonderful background that is cropped so well, there was a therapy session one. There was we did the dating one that has happened. Um, we had the wedding episode that happened, and then the finale. I believe those are just the three. There might be a fourth that we're forgetting, but we'll probably talk about events and get the timeline mixed up. So if we do, we apologize. No need to fact check us. But if you want to join in on the conversation, we're happy to hear your opinions. So please let us know. We would, and any ladies following, please chime in. We are three dudes talking about a female centric show, and we appreciate your opinions and want them. We will come at this from as many angles as we can. Obviously, it's not going to be all of the angles. We just haven't lived that life, but we want to know what you think about it as well. So, without further ado, we shall go in to She-Hulk.
I'm going to pull up a list of the episodes too, just so we kind of have an idea and I don't get it all lost when we're talking, kind of.
Appreciate it.
I'm looking it up right
I'm
now.
gonna give a general here. As we'll find out later in a different episode, how Dan is of two minds of a show. I am very much of two minds of this show. It didn't really solidify. Normally, shows will solidify for me at the ending, where I'm like yes, or I'm like no, or I like it, or I don't care much about it, or I'm in the middle. I'm very back and forth on this one in that it is I enjoy the show. I don't want anything to seem negative. I know I can sometimes do that, but like I did. I enjoyed watching the show. It was fun. It was definitely a very different formula than anything they've ever done before on Disney Plus, and I appreciate that very much so. I was talking to someone about this the other day. How my biggest complaint with Captain or not Captain with Miss Marvel was like it started off new and different, and I was like, cool, fun direction, and then it turned into a Marvel show. You know, at the very end, it was just standard Marvel formula, and it ended normally and everything. And then with She-Hulk, it's basically everything I complained about, and George, I believe, had that same opinion, and I believe Dan, you had that same opinion as well with Ms. Marvel. We were like, yeah, we knew different. Oh, it's the same. Well, this didn't really end the same, and this show was really very different. And I was like, well, I'm not happy, and I'm like, wait, that's what I wanted, and they gave it to me, and I still have found a reason to be like, what the hell was that? But having a few days to have thought about the show, I enjoyed the show overall. I think it landed more positives for me than it did negatives. And This is definitely something I would recommend people watching just because it is a very big departure from the normal Marvel formula. So if you want something different and refreshing, if you will, um, give this one a shout out as a generalized one. Any general opinions having seen the whole thing now, Smirch?
Smirch is muted.
For sure muted.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm under the weather. I will be periodically muting to cough. So general opinions. It you know how you felt at the end of a Simpsons episode? You're like, this is already a half hour, and then there's 5 minutes of credits at least. That's kind of how I felt. Except the Simpsons is not it's episodic and not a continual story.
Like a sitcom.
Yeah, with this, there's a continual story, but it's like, here's your piece of story. You better like it. And next week, oh, you want some more? Good. Here's a little bit more. And to get this much every week, I kind of just fell into this mode of like, all right, like I knew what I was expecting, and I never really got excited. The ending was a little different, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. I want to talk about your point you just made in a little bit later as well.
It's when you get this much every week, you expect that much, and when you expect that much, your opinions about it are never going to be that big. And so my opinion about this show is just, cool. I really have no complaints. I think it was a fun show that many people took way too seriously for what was clearly supposed to be a fun, lighthearted romp with fourth wall breaking, which I don't know why people are complaining about. The people love Deadpool, but it's shit all over this show for some reason.
Yeah, I don't understand.
So I guess since it's a woman, let's shit all over it. But that being said, I thought it was fine. I don't, nothing to write home about. I did enjoy. I think normally if we weren't doing this, I probably would have watched it as in chunks, like I like to do. And I wonder what my opinion would be. I think it would be drastically different, because in this episodic manner, I'm just kind of like, oh, morsels at a time. And when it's just so spaced out, it's just such a small part of your life that has just such a small impact, and you're just kind of like, yeah, that thing happened. It was fine. Like, I don't know how people have such strong opinions about it, because it was just kind of okay. It was fine. There was nothing wrong with it, but I find it hard to have like a real big opinion about it other than the ending. That's it.
Yeah, we'll get into ending for sure. George, general overall feeling of the show?
This might be one of the best Marvel TV shows they have ever put out.
I saw that coming for sure. I for sure saw that coming. I knew you would love this show.
This might be up there with Loki and Wanda. That's how strongly I feel about it. Why? It has a wider general mass appeal to a whole new audience that probably would never touch MCU with a 10-foot pole. Therefore, they won this round. I'm gonna put that out there. Do you know what I'm saying? I think they achieved what they were going for, and I think they did a really good job of it. Like, the goals that they set out, quote unquote, the check boxes that they had to tick for this show, they did it, and they did extra stuff that I wasn't even sure I was really wanting until I saw it. I think a lot of it, like, obviously, is, you guys touched on it, and we've been touching on it since the show came out, is that, like, Marvel fans take themselves, like, way too fucking seriously, honestly. Yeah. Like, and this show is like a big slap in the face and be like, lighten up. Like, you have, like, forgotten what it meant to enjoy, like, and just, like, enjoy and turn that little bit of, like criticism off while you're watching something. Sure, you can talk about it later, and the whole point of these shows, and even our show, is to talk about the product that is put out by people. But, like, with it has become, like, everybody has become, like, a keyboard critic, like, and when everyone's opinion is magnified that greatly all the time, it becomes overwhelmingly negative for some reason. Those voices are the ones that stick out, you know? And I think like this is a very good, smart critique of not only Marvel themselves being like, hey, we understand like a lot of the things you're saying, and we hear you, and we actually do listen to you. Because if you didn't think we did, we hear you. Like we're there's human beings literally in a room writing the shows and putting this product out, you know? They're not robots.
And they showed you all of them.
They showed you the real people who put the show on. So that's their real writer's room, you know? Like, so I think because of the way that we've grown in the, you know, in just modern technology also and things like that, and the way we're connected to each other, like, I think it breeds an environment of like kind of toxicity, and the show talks about it, whether that's male toxicity, because I hate to say it, this realm and this genre in general, like in this world, is heavily male dominated. It has been since the beginning of time. Like that's just how it is, you know. And it's terrible because sometimes, for the longest times, it felt like every single extra piece of space that we just wanted to open up a little wider to invite more people in feels like it's a fucking battle. It feels like we're fucking pulling tooth and nail. Why has it got to be so fucking hard? I don't understand. Just to open the door a little bit wider so that we can invite more people in to enjoy something that every one of us can agree in our heart we wouldn't care and be so upset about if we didn't like and really, really liked and enjoyed and wanted to share with people, right? Why does it need to be a struggle every single time? You know, and that's what the show really did a great job of pointing out. And I think because of the fact that it's her and it's in this vehicle and she's able to deliver it the way similar that Deadpool is, and in such a meta way, that this will have a better test of time of how it will impact the larger MCU and the larger like audience than we would probably see right now. Yeah. So I think it has the potential to go down as one of the better Marvel shows.
So in regards to all those, a lot of what you said I agree with, like a lot. It's for me, and then I'm gonna break it down into some of the moments. But for me, there was a lot of like, if you step back and look at the show as what the finale really did talk about it, you know, and it did help change my opinion on like the whole overall show, because as to Dan's point, like where they gave you just a little bit at the end of it's literally the last like 2 minutes of every episode's like Intelligentsia, Hulk King, and like, there was, even at the end of this show, there was so little payoff for that. But she reminded us that's not what this show's about. And we talked about this actually in one of our last She-Hulk reviews, and maybe it was a D23, I don't remember, but like how not everything has to have that overall impactful narrative to the MCU. And this is it. This is the non-impactive narrative. This is, you know, like it's a comedy lawyer show. Like that's all it is. It's not some big massive CGI battle against, you know, a giant light in the sky, you know what I mean? So it definitely was all of those things. And when you go back and look at it, each of the episodes are great. Like when you look at them, like if you take off those couple of minutes, those hooks, that's all they are. They're just little hooks to get you to want to.
That's literally what they call them.
If you take off the hook, it's great. Like it's a fun lawyer drama, like lawyer comedy show. There's a lot of the law scenes are ridiculous and hilarious. Some of them are like, you know, there's points where I was sitting there, was watching it with my wife, and we were sitting there like, I don't think that they needed to write her necessarily. Like in some of the lawyer scenes, she kind of came off as like, that's something you should have done immediately, you know, and like ask your client if he used that, you know, the Frogger guy, you know, ask him if he used that thing properly, and he didn't. It's like a lawyer would do that, you know what I mean? So there was a couple of moments where I'm like, character writing might not be the best, but like overall, like it made for an entertaining
She's
episode.
Incredibly relatable, like even like down to those little moments of her like her like dating situation, waiting for a text, things like that. Everyone knows how that feels. Like, like her life beyond being She-Hulk is incredibly relatable. Like having to balance work, love life, and friends and family and all that stuff. Like it just goes to show, like the show really is just about Jen. You know, like that's what like I think ultimately had to hit home at, and I think they did a good job of bringing that in. Like at the end.
I think Jen was a good character, yeah.
It's a very what Marvel is doing is they're trying to kind of hit like multiple genres with different television shows, and people seem to forget this was their shot at comedy. Like this was their comedy show.
Yeah.
And people kind of forget that. Like no one holds comedy like to that high of a standard. Like it's a comedy show.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like people seem to forget that. And I'll be honest, I forgot that a little bit because you know me. I mean, I'm all for I don't want to shit on this show because it receives so much hate, and I don't want to be associated with those fuckers. But equality. So here we go. I just wanted to see Hulk do some smashing. She did not do any smashing. I mean, not the at least outside the bedroom.
Matt Murdock. All right.
Which
DD?
My guy, dude. My guy. I was so happy.
Who wasn't rooting for that, by the way? Like the people who wasn't rooting for that, for them to like
no one.
For people who weren't rooting for them, like fuck you. Like,
it's amazing because Charlie Cox is considered like he's like number 1, number 2 in like all Marvel like guys like as far as hot lists. Yeah, of hot lists, of thirst lists. Like Hugh Jackman, maybe like number 1. Charlie Cox probably a pretty close number 2 for like a lot of ladies.
I mean, like the Chris's, man. You've got like the Chris's.
All right, I'm talking about. All right,
whatever.
The
Chris's.
The Chris's are all hard to beat, sure, but
I mean, look. I agree. I was, like it wasn't until like halfway through the show that I was like, oh, I'm not gonna get smashing. Got it. Just I need to turn that off my brain. Yeah, and
that's fine.
There was a little bit here and there. The wedding, I think, was a cool little fight with her and Titania, where she like busted all of her teeth open, and I was like, "Ooh!" That
her and Daredevil
brutal.
Versus each other was pretty cool too. Honestly,
that was cool. I liked the little fight. I mean, like they didn't feel the fight scenes that did exist didn't feel too forced.
No,
and it didn't. They helped the push that she fought when she needed to, and it pushed the story along. And that's what it was.
First fight scenes are pretty annoying, so I will give them that.
So it was good. I still will get pulled out every now and then just because of the CGI, but that's nobody's fault. That's them rushing it through. But I do like. I mean, overall, I'm giving this a positive. I just needed to like change my brain again.
Dude, but I
can't reiterate this more. Like we are not necessarily the three of us are not necessarily the strongest target for the audience. You know what I mean? This is a show directed, written, and run by women, and it's that's
I will say if as far as action go, when there was action, it was done really well. It was done tastefully, and also like, is it just me? Daredevil somehow seems even more badass than he ever was. Like he seems like somehow almost like superhuman. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like he's got even an extra like jump or a skip to him that he never had on Netflix. I don't know. Like I never seen him like run around a garage parking lot like that before. Like I don't know about you, but he was like hopping in and out of there like.
I feel like we did, but
he had a little extra spring to his step. I'm just saying, like,
just rewatch that fight scene in the hallway, and then you'll be singing another tune. You know what I mean? Like
that's classic. That is classic. Daredevil.
I get it. The reason George is saying this is because it's true because they only had him on screen for a short amount of time. So it's like we can't have him just kind of like slum around. Like if we're gonna have Daredevil on screen for like. A total of like 5 minutes. We're gonna have him kick some serious ass and do some serious flippage.
We got that.
And they had a relationship in the comics too. So I was like, "Yay!
I love it.
I like
this
where
is great.
Going. Yeah,
it's so cool. Just watching her like smash through the door and then him like slowly walking up behind her, and she's like, it's just, it's amazing. It's like, oh man, these two are gonna kick butt.
I keep thinking of, before we talk about the finale, I keep thinking of this scene that I have up, that episode that everyone can see in the corner here, where she goes to Emil Blonsky's retreat and is like going through like therapy. Like I honestly thought that was a really good episode. Like everyone in there, like the conversations they had, the way they all talked to each other, like. It was hilarious in the beginning.
She sang
like the Matador and the Bull, and
she had
like,
Mbop in there on the way.
You brought in Emil Blonsky. Is
It was a goofy episode.
Like, motivational, but like it was good. It was well written into the fact that like.
But we were waiting for like a Daredevil. You understand? They dragged out the Daredevil hook for like 2 extra episodes. Like when people were like, "What is going on? Why are we going in the middle of nowhere for like to go see Emil when you already showed us the Daredevil thing?" It's just like I as a viewer, I was kind of like, "What? Why are we getting this episode at first?"
You
know?
feel like you're being trolled.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I was being trolled. Like, oh my god,
that episode. It's just like I just see them in the writers' room being like, let's just give these people, let's give no one what they want.
Yeah, for like another episode.
But still make them go, it's not what I wanted at all, but those are pretty good. Like it was an interesting kind of like way to go about things. I thought
it wasn't the hero I wanted. It was the hero we needed.
No, it wasn't that either.
It was good. I thought it was good because it's
just
life, it's life takes breaks. People need breaks, and that's
Yeah,
what they did.
I get it.
And they explained that, and I thought it was good. And
Yeah.
I what you said earlier, I do want to go, like, I would go back and re-binge this to see if it hits a little different and feels a little different. I'm
glad we got to know Emil a little bit better too.
Yeah,
like because I feel like he's an interesting character
that's the only part that of this where I'm like, like I want Abomination, I want like crazy Emil, and like I like that Emil.
Yeah,
I mean, we'll get him.
This is fun. Don't get me wrong.
It's like the Taika Waititi version of Korg. Like, here's this huge, massive Abomination. Yeah. It's like, hey, everybody, calm down. It's going to be okay. And I'm just like, this voice.
Oh man, can you imagine the trio?
But
Korg, Emil, and then what's his name? From Shang-Chi.
Well, isn't Korg's just a face now? So
Korg's just he came back. He got married. Remember?
He did? Oh,
he got married again, and they had a little.
And he's
Korg.
narrating the whole thing, so he came back. He's the one.
Gather around,
you see
children.
him talking to the children, and so the beginning of the movie
is
him
tell you
after
the
the end of the
story
movie.
I guess I've removed
the space Viking.
That's fine. It's the only one I haven't watched the second time, so
I've watched it twice.
I want to, but I'm also like, okay, so we got a couple of weird little cameos. You got Emil Blonsky in there. You had the Wrecking Crew, who is in this episode, where the guy who is in the white in the shirt, white shirt down there.
Previously on this guy.
Yeah, he's like he becomes like, the friendly. All of these people become like friendly.
Do you think he really is a good guy now?
Yeah, sure. It's funny. I was watching.
Do you believe he turned over a new Leafs merch?
What are we talking about?
Dude with the freaking wrench who tried to jump her and steal her blood, but then became good and all peaceful, and then was in the sweat lodge.
Well, who the fuck knows? It's Marvel, dude. It's whatever they feel like in the future.
Most of the show was I was watching, and I was rooting for all of these guys.
Yes.
Okay.
Like the guy, what was his name, Josh or whatever, that she goes on those dates with, and I was like, oh, he seems like he's interested in her. And I'm watching with my wife, and she's like, no, he's not. He's gonna be bad. Oh no, he's gonna be bad too. She called every single one. I was like, oh my god, this is not.
I love it when the Matador was like, Josh has made an enemy of all of us in this room. I was laughing so hard. I was oh my god.
But,
Josh.
Yeah, and if you had a soul, like everyone watching as well. So
yeah.
So let's talk about the finale. They did something very, very different. They didn't just break the fourth wall. They like ripped it down and just destroyed it, which I thought was very, very interesting. So I
love the sound effects.
You got it going in where you get the repercussions, which I didn't like how this played out, if you ask me, where at the end of the penultimate episode, they she's got like someone hacked her and was had a sex tape that was taken without her permission and was posted onto a giant screen, and then she smashes the screen and tears it down and the wall comes down, but everybody seems fine. Like nobody really got hurt. It's just one wall away from everybody else. And then everyone immediately made her a villain, like instantly, where everyone for the last 8 episodes has been kind of like rooting for her, minus the hulking people and the intelligentsia. But like everybody knows that she's She-Hulk. She goes to court as She-Hulk. She works as She-Hulk. She is shown that she's clearly in control, and then someone completely destroys her life and she smashes one thing. Not like a string of smashings, one thing, and suddenly she's in prison. Like that that makes literally no sense to me. If you look at anything that Marvel has ever written, that has never happened to like any hero.
I wouldn't say that. I would say it doesn't make a lot of sense. But you have to look at the previous. You have to look at Hulk in general.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
when they see a big smash, like that's all it took. Then that's all.
I mean, also,
that needed
like-
to happen for them to be reminded of like previous
like,
Hulk atrocities.
If you
But, like,
broke that,
nobody's taking
if you
into
did, if
account
you
that
went to a
crap.
WWE, like if you went to a WWE show and you broke the Titantron, you don't think you'd be in jail?
Yeah, but I'm not what everybody is already calling a superhero. Like she's
Bray
not
Wy-
even the
Anybody
only one.
does
Hold on,
damage
this
on
is-
that level is going to be
Oh, wait, no, yeah.
in jail.
And-
And she's a
and-
She-Hulk, so they'll put her in a maximum security jail because she's a She-Hulk. Do you
But this
understand what I'm
is a
saying?
True.
Let's use a WWE comparison. If Bray Wyatt came back and
not.
this is not
I
really.
I can't. But like there have.
Hold on. Bray Wyatt came back. This is not all right. Just let's see. This is about to be Bray Wyatt. It can be anyone, any bad guy that came back, and we learn that they have a brother, and this brother is good. This brother has been good this whole time, and then this brother does one bad thing. We would call that, as an audience, a heel turn because we've been waiting for it to happen. And that's kind of their perspective on this. They've essentially been waiting for this Hulk to smash. It's like everyone's been saying it's only a matter of time
But
before she breaks something.
We're not taking
And
any
then-
context into account.
What do you
Like,
mean?
We are.
They are.
There's
literally
The
her-
intelligentsia
They're
stuff that's
showing
been
her
everywhere.
Sex
Oh,
tape
I'm not.
live.
I'm not
That-
disagreeing with you. That's fucked up, and that's
What?
definitely a like for a person a normal reaction, and a Hulk, But it's just the fact that Bruce has spent like literally destroyed cities. The fact that everyone was essentially waiting for this to happen. That's
Yeah.
all they needed.
I feel like,
They
especially with
wanted-
all the
they wanted-
propaganda.
They wanted a reason, and she
But man,
gave
like,
them a reason.
But like every other, like other than even Hulk didn't get arrested. You know what I mean? He left, but like Iron Man, Spider Man, all these people have destroyed
Because they
city
ran.
blocks.
She didn't.
Not
run.
all of them. Even Iron Man. Iron Man didn't run. He came out at the end of the movie and said, "I am Iron Man." After he just destroyed half of the fucking.
Yeah, he's
like, he-
also a
down
multi-billionaire,
tons of-
trillionaire.
Exactly. That's my point, though. My
It was-
point
it
is,
was
it's
own
no.
stuff.
It to me, it feels like obviously I'm, it was, but like it just feels like that's not. That doesn't
I-
seem
I
equal or
agree.
fair. Maybe that's the commentary, is that women are treated unfairly, but it just doesn't seem like a logical
I think
writing
it's more about just
for.
the fact that she was a Hulk, and these
Yeah,
people
I
just
feel like you're getting hung
No,
up
it
on
just-
something
it-
that
It just seemed out of place to me.
didn't seem out of
for-
place to
for
me.
most of the show.
Not to me.
Not to
Seems
me.
Like a pretty like if any other Hulk comes in the picture, they're going to be held under a watchful eye, and
Yeah.
one step out of line, and they're just another Hulk. Time to
Yeah.
take it down now. Like that's just
Either
how-
way, it moves on to her, trying to work her case from prison, and then and then Pug and I can't remember her assistant's name. They find out, where there's a hulking meeting, an intelligentsia meeting, and they send it out, and they end up at they send Pug in, which is just absolutely hilarious. Those two together is just, I love their comedic
They're funny.
back and forth.
It was
Yeah,
good.
they're ridiculous, and I love it. And then they're in a lodge, and like you find out that the obvious dude is the hulking, that piece of shit guy. He even looked exactly like him in the previous episode, and I'm like, he's wearing a ski mask, but he has a very distinct shape. Like that was him.
her name's Nikki.
And Nikki, thank you.
But a quick
And,
shout out to her. She did that funny thing where when she was about to put on makeup for her, she came out with all the makeup brushes like Wolverine. I don't know if you caught that little moment.
Yes, I did. I saw that.
She did the Wolverine claws with the makeup brushes. I was like, oh my god. Like
She
this,
did it like- she's
this
like-
lady just like throwing that out there. I was like, oh my god.
And then this whole thing, I don't remember, how did she end up getting out of there? Oh, how did
She just
she
went, stop, and then
no, how did she get to the lodge? I don't
Oh,
remember.
she went to see Emil. She wanted to talk to him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she was let out and had an ankle bracelet
And they
on.
were like-
she
they
wanted
were
to go
like-
talk to
yeah,
him. Right.
She was
Right.
like,
Thank you. And then, yeah, as this whole thing, Hulk shows up, Titania shows up, dude
Mhm.
turns into a weird, creepy looking
Bro
half
dude.
Hulk type thing, and
Yeah,
then
a
she's
real
like, "Whoa,"
Chad.
and then they break the fourth wall again, and not just break it. She's like, "What the hell's happening? This doesn't make sense." And then it cuts to the actual Disney Plus.
Full sound
uh,
effect when you hit the
whole
menu button.
thing.
It makes that whole
Yeah.
that definitely makes that sound.
I was like, we both were like, "What the hell just happened?"
That's
Oh
funny.
no, okay, cool. It's part of the show. And so then she ends up in the writer's room, and is talking to the whole thing, wanting to talk to Kevin, and I have the subtitles on. I don't know if you guys do.
I do.
But when she says Kevin, it's Kevin, and when they say Kevin, it's what is it, an anagram? K.E.V.I.N.
All caps.
Is that an anagram? Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, why is
abbreviation?
No, abbreviation would be like Kev.
No, abbreviation is anything short. It's like, it's abbreviation.
It's an anagram. It's a play on whatever. I explained it. I don't care what the word is. But and then she ends up in a room with a robotic.
It's not an anagram.
What is it?
It's an abbreviation, like HIV or
that's not an abbreviation.
DOD
is when you like change the letters.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's an abbreviation. What abbreviations when you take the first letter?
It's not an abbreviation. I know. You keep going, Slice. I'm gonna research it.
And so we're she ends up in a room with like a robot that's been deciding, an AI that's been deciding all of the shows, which I thought was like the most clever dig at themselves. Because that's what the internet has been saying. That's what we've been saying for a lot of their shows and a lot of their movies. And they're like, well, this is what the Marvel Universe has come to expect. We must do things like this and have this type of ending and blah, blah, blah. And she basically rewrites her entire, what is it?
Acronym.
It was an A. I knew it was an A.
Acronym?
Yeah, it's an acronym.
What's an acronym?
Modern nerd. That's what it is. It's when you have like a bunch of it's a word, but when you use each letter of the word to spell something for a
oh, okay, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, but it's also an abbreviation because his name stands for Kevin.
No, man. An abbreviation would be means. Kev or like K or something.
Is shortening. Abbreviating is shortening.
Yeah. Anyway,
I
English.
go by Tim,
English,
but Timothy is the name. Tim. So yeah, you break down the walls, and she's talking to an AI that has decided what everything is going to be, and she rewrites the ending of her own show, which I thought was very clever. It was a little strange. Go on.
And they don't do it.
No, they did.
Not really. She says this needs to happen, this needs to happen, and then it's the scene after all that stuff happens.
Yeah, it didn't really feel like.
Why would you build this up like that?
How did she get let off? Well, no, but as she says it, like that's
you see it happening on the screen, but it doesn't happen. They just replace the figures and change what was about to happen, and then they don't do the ending. I was like, why would you do that?
What do you mean?
They didn't really
after the ending. I'm like, that was the whole buildup. You were gonna change the ending, and then you don't have the actual scene. Who fucked that up? Like, that was a pretty big fuck up to me. I know, like, that, like, again, the standard for the show is you shouldn't care as much. Like, it's a lighthearted show, but that was the whole point.
They did what they said. My biggest thing was they didn't really resolve. Like, how did all of this happen and now she's free to go? Like, that didn't make sense to me.
We don't know because we didn't see the scene.
Yeah, that didn't make sense to me. Or I was like,
I filled in the blank.
Sure. I'm like, oh, everything's fine, I guess.
I filled in the blank. Yeah. She's like, it was a setup.
Yeah.
And they let her go.
What the blank? Fill in multiple blanks.
That's the thing. It was an obvious.
She literally
setup.
reconned her whole entire story. So like all the stuff in the back.
Like, she had that full conversation. I'm not over it. I was really excited to see what her ending she wanted it to be, and then we didn't see it. It was just a scene.
But what happened was what she wanted. She wanted to wind it up, like wind down with the relationship between her and Matt, and like you get to I'll talk about the other cameo at the end there. But you get the just kind of the wind down. Emil takes. She said she wanted Emil to take responsibility for his actions, and he did. He signed a little thing, said I take literally said I take responsibility for my actions, and it went off. And the other guy got arrested, and like all that stuff.
So what happened? It's like what happened in that whole room where
they raided and everybody stopped. Like it was one little moment that we're missing. We're not missing like 10 minutes of dialogue.
Yeah, I don't feel like we're missing that much, to be honest. I feel like number one, the first thing is obviously Todd's experiment didn't work. Like it didn't work.
Yeah.
So he didn't.
We assume
it didn't work on him. Yeah.
She said
it doesn't work.
He doesn't turn into a Hulk, and then you see him transform back into a Hulk. That was it. That's the scene.
Like we didn't see what else would have happened, like their reactions, like what he's gonna do with it, what's gonna happen to it, nothing. And there's a lot of things like that.
Well, he injected it and it didn't.
It didn't work.
There's nothing left. That's it.
I
That was
guess
it.
so. We don't know.
He injected it, and then nothing happened.
Sure, but we assume.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's what happened.
She's saying that's what happened.
She said it. That's what happened.
That's literally what she said. She was like, nothing happens to him. He doesn't turn into the Hulk.
She did exposition instead of a scene. A lot of things, a lot of movies do exposition for all sorts of different moments. They just expositioned that scene and then moved on.
Yeah.
That was it. They told us what happened and
it was
moved
a big
on.
letdown to me. I don't know. I would like, give us your ending. Give us the thing you wanted to give us. And it was such a big build-up to just like not doing it. I thought that was a very weird choice, but anyway.
I understand that it's a weird choice, but also I'm like,
it's a weird ending.
It's a weird ending like in general.
Ever.
What I didn't get to say was I was loving every minute of it, right up until the point where they're outside on the street and wrapping up clearly. And I was like, this is amazing. Like I was loving it. I love that shit. Like I can't. My dream is for her and Deadpool to go.
Yeah, they're going to. It's totally.
I can't wait.
I can't wait.
Like, I was loving every minute of it right up until that moment where they just kind of skipped over a bunch of shit, and I was just like, okay, I guess she told us,
okay, I'm gonna ask you this, Dan. How did you see that scene playing out?
I mean, at least like something, like what happened in the warehouse. Like, oh, you don't get this. Oh, like, or literally anything. Like literally.
Tell me what your anything is. What is it that you want from that scene that is missing?
Dude, I'm not picky. I would have just wanted to see how that scene in the warehouse would have, not the warehouse, whatever.
Because I want to tell you that scene is really not that important.
Yeah, like let me play it out. Like he injects himself and nothing happens. He gets disappointed. You see the SWAT team break in. Everybody's under arrest. Now you're back onto the fucking thing. Like that's all that it was that we're missing. Like that's it. That's literally.
Yeah.
What did you really expect to see? Like, I just want to know in general, what did you want to see in that scene?
What I wanted or expected. It's what they told us they were about to give us. And
they gave it to us. They gave us that part at the very end of it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
but like they gave us a part of it.
Do you really need to see a SWAT team? My question is, do you feel like you need to see the police show up, or do you feel like you need to see?
She goes to the thing. I literally want changes to give this the time and the amount of it's like that it deserves, and then to not do it is like the biggest troll in the whole show. It's like, why would you literally say you're about to do something and then just not?
It's interesting to see how like you and this is not like because everybody has different like things that they point out in criticism. It's interesting to see the different hang-ups for the show that you and Tim have. Tim has one that seems to be a very weird like logical issue and then this one I also feel like I don't feel like I'm missing out that much. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need to see the SWAT team show up. I don't need to see, like, whatever. Like, I'm fine.
She was talking about how important it is to her. And then, clearly...
The scene itself is not important for her. What's important to her is the result of what happens from it. Do you understand what I'm saying? She just wants to see Matt again. She wants Emil to take responsibility. She wants to be free and clear of any charges. She doesn't give a fuck how we got there. She just wants those end results.
She was very clear that she doesn't want to be... typical, and I get that, and show me why you're not typical.
That is why
she don't give a shit how she gets there. She'll just get there.
In hindsight, I guess that scene of her talking to Kevin was how it wasn't typical, but that's not what I thought what she was doing. So I get it now, but just to be like, here's my new ending. Fast forward through most of it to the part after the ending that we were about to show you.
Because that's all she really cares about at that point.
I was excited to see her ending from front to back.
You wanted like the ending of the movie Clue, when if you watch it on DVD or something, they show you like 7 different endings of how all the different possibilities could play out. She says all the things, reset the clock. I don't think he's being that greedy. Put 2 minutes on the clock and let it play over of her walking into the room and just play it over again.
I just really liked how she said she wanted to be different. And I wanted her ending to have its moment in the sun. And it feels like it didn't get that.
I think this episode will be talked about amongst Marvel for a very long time. So I think it will definitely have its moment in the sun.
I think in hindsight, I will definitely be kinder to this because understand what was happening. But in the moment, I just was like, "Oh, wait, so you're telling me you're going to give me something and then not giving it to me?" And
Yeah.
I was just like, "Man,
I get it. No, Smirch, I'm like not trying to be overly critical because I do know that feeling. I know that feeling that you're feeling because I felt it too. I was like, oh, okay, all right. Like, but I feel like I'm a little bit like I was just like, okay, I kind of get it, and then like I moved on from it. I was like,
what I'm really saying is, I liked this show and I wanted much more of it, often and frequently.
oh,
Yeah, I wish it was like an hour.
This is not a feeling that this was a feeling that I felt many previous times, but just amplified. Like every episode, and I'm like, oh well, that was an episode, I guess. Like, it was a good show, and I feel like it could have, maybe it wouldn't have been as special or as humorous, but I think this show could have used an extra 5 to 10 minutes per episode.
and you know, whatever. In many ways, like the ending, the last scene gives us a lot of like typical things that people want from Marvel. You know, it felt like, you know what it felt like? It felt like the episode, that end scene is the same end scene they have in every single Fast and Furious, where it's like family, like it's been a long.
So wait, I want to talk about this for a second.
You know, like oh my god, family.
We've got two moments. Okay, the Emil Blonsky and Wong thing. That wasn't an end credit. That was just like one of the scenes tied into the end of it there. What, right?
No, that was the end credit.
There was an end credit. Okay, so that's the end credit. We'll talk about that in a second. The scene that they just snuck in, which
they said they weren't going to do.
Well, no,
and then they did it.
I read about this like a minute ago before we started. So the talk was always to do this. But they were like, we don't really know how to do it. What do we want to do? Do we want to make it a bigger thing? Do we want to do an end credit thing and make it explain a little more? And then they were talking, and then they were talking, and then they were like, fuck it. Just literally put it in the last 2 seconds of the show. And I was like...
Literally Homer Simpson coming out of the bushes. Like...
Yeah, literally. So you get what we're talking about. Spoilers, obviously, it's on the screen. Is Bruce comes back from outer space at the it's been a long time at the family reunion right there.
Family.
Just I immediately thought of, you're not wrong.
Yeah, they're literally eating the same food. I think that Vin Diesel is.
Like,
there's corn. There's oh my god, I was just like,
but he comes out and he goes, I'd like to introduce you to my son.
Still Busta.
And this is Scar, my son. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I'm gonna say this, and my wife can back me up at some point. I called it. Like, I knew, I was like, as soon as it's a Sicarian ship, I was like, they are doing the Scar character.
Said they weren't going to do it when she was talking to Kevin. She said,
"Oh,
we're not going to do that." No, like Kevin was like, "Oh, we're going to introduce the character," and she's like, "No, don't do that. Yeah, you still thought they were going to do it?
Yes.
Oh,
I did. Okay. I thought from like the second episode, whenever you saw the Sicarian ship, I was like, it's for sure coming at some point, one way or another, end credit, something like that. But here's my thing. I made a post about it today on my Modern Nerd Instagram. Go ahead, check it out. It is, I can see what they're doing, and I don't want to slight anybody. You know, I don't want to put something down to raise something up. The comic book version of Scar is one of the most badass things you'll ever see when he first debuted. I loved it. Planet Hulk and some of its aftermath, I fucking loved it, and it was awesome. I read it all the time. This is not that. It's like, it is. Now I can see from the look of what they're doing, kind of what they're going. It looks very tribal, and you know, and like Sakaar was that kind of planet. It was, you know, very, you know, not as technologically advanced for some of their civilizations, and I can see that in what they're doing. Bro, your barber fucked you up, man. Your barber done fucked you up. I'm sorry. He looks. I just want it's. Okay, I have a lot of problems with this, and it's
clearly
mostly because of Smart Hulk. I'm tired of it. I want it gone. And now you've not only given me more Smart Hulk, you've Smart Hulked his son. Like, bro,
Tim, go! Tim, go!
It's time to give us. Okay, I was also reading a thing. Universal's rights, technically, to distribution are over in June of 2023. So next year, theoretically, unless there's some weird deal that happens between now and then, Disney will have the rights to make and distribute its own movie starring the Hulk. You can have Hulk in any movie, but he can't be the main of it, which is why we got, Thor 3 and all that stuff. So, hopefully they do something with this. I would rather see the timeline of what he was doing during She-Hulk than, honestly, I want Planet Hulk. We're not going to get that, and I've given up on it, but give me more of this. Give me a movie of just what he was doing on Sakaar again, and make it interesting. And then, and then fast forward to after this timeline and give me back my Hulk, because y'all done fucked him up. I want him back, and we haven't had him in a long time.
Where's this coming from? I'm always complaining about this. It's like, nah, it's fine. It's fine.
It was fine. It was. Now
they crossed his red line.
They've
crossed his red line,
and just stop. Like,
long enough.
If you're gonna do this,
the cost is red
if
line.
you want Bruce, just give me Bruce. You don't need.
Finally,
it was just ridiculous.
Finally, the slice has come back to the light.
Yeah, you cannot have a Hulk movie with this character. It just won't work. It won't. There's nothing interesting about this character anymore, because it's just Bruce. Bruce is cool, but the dichotomy of Bruce is Hulk. And now, like, in the comics, it worked for a time. I was having this conversation with somebody else. Like, they are suddenly giving us a lot of, like, their really C, D, E level storylines from the comics. And we're like, bro, you've got like 40 plus years of comic books to pull from. And why in the fuck are you telling me these stories? Why are you not giving me the characters that work? Like, I like the red and gold Daredevil suit. I think it's cool. I think it should have been done first and then moved on. Go back to the red and black. Like, those are more Daredevil. Anyway,
I mean, they're gonna change that. They are doing it first.
I know, but
they are doing it first. This is what it's doing. They're doing it first.
Well,
what are you talking about? They're doing it first.
But they already meant, he said, I'm Daredevil, as in he's already existed.
I know, but they're doing it first. What's your point, dude? The minute they had control of it, they put that yellow thing on it. And then what did he say? Oh, he's making me several suits.
Yeah. But what I'm saying,
they did it first. You're hung up on that. Like, no, I mean, being hung up on that. Like,
let me finish my point. My thing is, they're picking and choosing the stories to write, but they're picking and choosing, like, stuff that didn't really work even in the comics, and they're doing it. And I'm like, you've got all these good things to choose from. Like, I know you're gonna change them, and that's fine. Like, I'm 99% okay with these changes that the MCU has made to most of these characters. You know what I mean? Like, I've not had too many problems. It's just, there's some things like, why there was no need to do this. When he had this kid, he was clearly not this Hulk. He was not smart Hulk. He was big, hulking Hulk. You know what I mean? Dumb, fuck you up Hulk. And now you've got this astute. I went to Sakaar.
I have
Harvard
a question about this biology issue.
I don't know what's going on.
I have a question about this biology issue though. Is this baby born a Hulk, or is he born a regular human and then gets turned into a Hulk?
He was born a Hulk. He's always
in the comics, but I mean, like, in this scenario, is there a possibility that this is a kid who was born actually a normal human being, or looks pretty close to a normal human being, and he also gets angry?
An actor, they're going to want to show the actor's face, so yes, he will probably be.
That's what I'm saying. So this is like a totally different character, pretty much.
Dude, Tim, that is so true.
Yeah,
this is a totally different character.
It's the only reason any superhero ever takes their mask off in between fight scenes. When, like, Peter is fighting and then he has to go talk to his aunt or something, he takes his mask off and then puts it back on. Bro, just nobody would ever do that. But you're paying this guy a lot of money, so you gotta put the face on. So,
right, so
they may write that.
But this storyline obviously is totally different than what they expect there.
They don't need to do that. You can they made the guy. This looks like the actor. I mean, Hulk looks like fucking Banner.
Yeah, he does.
Problem solved. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to make him human. So anyway, I've got a lot of problems with a lot of that. Am I excited that they're doing Scar? Yeah, I read like Scar's individual issues and they were really cool for a while, and then the writer switched and it wasn't great. But anyway, this is one of the things I've been waiting for. Plus, it rounds out the Young Avengers.
That's what I was saying.
I don't think we're gonna get a Hulkling. They're gonna do Scar, which I'm like, you know what? That's fine. A Hulkling is a super complicated character to get into, especially the way they've written the Kree and the Skrulls. So that's gonna make a whole different thing. And fine, erase that, put in Hulkling. But like, you know what I mean? Look what, or put in Scar. But like, you know, like they make these changes to like Taskmaster, and it's like, why? Like, why? It made no sense to do that, and it makes no sense to do this. I don't know what they're gonna do, so I can't speak to this one, but I already kind of have an inkling. So, you know, and thank you for coming to my TED Talk. You know what grinds my gears?
I'm glad you got it out. I'm glad you got it out.
I've been holding it in.
I'm glad you got it out. It seemed like you're like you crossed a red line, and you know I get it. It was just,
look, if it wasn't Tim, it was gonna be me. So I'm just glad it was Tim, and I don't have to just.
I think everyone had. I definitely understand. Like everyone had their fill of like Smart Hulk or whatever you want to call it. You know, like I totally get that, and there is a hope that we can see that again, the old Hulk and the old Banner, and separate that. I think maybe you're right that the story has like run its course, you know, and to try to, and now you're seeing how it like the continuation of that storyline and has moved on with this child, this random child that appears out of nowhere, and and like just the look of him, I understand. I totally understand.
And it looks like he just took a shit in the house, like
like he's just embarrassed.
Like, so wait, I want to timeline this for a second.
And so I totally understand, you know, but also
he was on. Go ahead.
Also, I just think like a part of it also is like of me is like semi-skeptical in the sense of like it came in the package and in the essentially it came through like the show. So everything that I see in this show I take with like a little bit of like, you know what I'm saying? Like just a little bit like, all right, like that's great, like, you know, but also like who knows if that is the end result, like when Hulk finally gets his, you know, his own movie eventually.
Dude, I'm so desperate now for like some Hulk action. I think there's a version where like of Smart Hulk where if he gets mad, he turns back to Bruce with Hulk Psyche. I'll take that, dude. I'll take that at this point.
You mean like switches to.
Do you think they should do an Urkel? Do you ever think they should do an Urkel and separate him from like Bruce, like Stefan?
That happens in the comics.
I know it does. Do you think they should pull an Urkel? That's literally what I'm asking. Where they separate Stefan from Urkel? I
don't think so, but I mean, I'm down for anything other than what we've been getting for the last like.
I can see that as a means to recreating the Hulk, whereas like for a portion of it, they're separated and then they come back together, but they don't come back together
as Smart Hulk ever again. Like, and Hulk and him make a choice. Yeah, Hulk and Banner make a choice.
Or no version.
Yeah, that they can go back to the original version, and Hulk and Banner have to choose to share the body with each other and like work as a real team again, because he's a different personality. In many ways, Hulk. We always knew Hulk is a different personality. Yeah, Hulk is a different personality, you know. And like, I don't know if Smart Hulk is necessarily the two psyches coming together, right? Bruce so much is that Bruce has taken away the symptoms of the Hulk in the sense of like he's suppressed it, you know. Now when he's big and ragey and has gamma radiation, the old Hulk psyche doesn't show up. That is not combining two different personalities together. That's just suppressing the one that's always been the alter, if you will. But what if Banner had the ability and had the choice to be like, I can't like suppress the old Hulk anymore because he's just as much right to be in this body as I do. Like he's a real person.
Are you saying like 3 stages of Hulk? Like there's a Banner, there's a Smart Hulk, and then when Smart Hulk gets angry, there's original Hulk. Like it's just
I don't
progressively.
Know. I don't know how they want to do it, but I think there is definitely room for that choice. However they want to choose to make that move, I think there is a choice and a possibility for old Hulk to go back to the way it was, which is Banner separate from Hulk. I really think there's and who knows, maybe this kid is the vehicle to do that. And if he is the vehicle to do that, then I'm all for whatever he represents.
Look, all I gotta say is Disney, make my check out to cash, please. That would be great. Okay, because we're winding down here. The implications of Emil Blonsky and Wong are interesting because what I
How's the
anticipated
Wi-Fi?
was an what's it called? Thunderbolts, right? But like they've already announced the official lineup of the Thunderbolts, and Blonsky's not in it. So unless they're doing some sort of like psych out, I don't know. I don't know where that's going. And for me to be able to say that kind of makes me happy. Like
Me
that
too.
I can't be like, oh, cool. I don't know what the hell that was about, but I'm excited to see it. So I'm interested in where that goes.
What if they had to hunt Emil down?
We've got a lot of people at Kamertage right now.
Yeah.
Interesting people. You've got America Chavez at Kamertage, and Emil Blonsky at Kamertage. Like, what's happening at Kamertage? Like, what are they doing? I'm interested. So I want to know more. Okay, we've gone very
One final
long.
piece.
Fine.
Final news about Thunderbolts.
You want to tie that in here? All right, fuck it. So MCU. It's funny the way this came about is they had talked to what's his name, Harrison Ford, a while back. As soon as the late great William Hurt passed away, they started talking to Harrison Ford to replace him as Thunderbolt Ross, and they didn't tell anybody that they were talking to him, and he didn't tell anybody that they were talking to him. But somehow, somewhere along this line, there was a little slip, and it kind of went out. And then Disney was like, "Well, maybe we're talking to him," and then they're like, "No, we're not." Okay, yes, we are, but maybe. And like they're very wishy-washy with it. They haven't. Yeah. I don't think it's an official Disney announcement.
No, it's not.
But very trusted sources who are 99% correct most of the time have confirmed that the legendary Harrison Ford will be joining and taking over the role of Thunderbolt Ross, which is super exciting. I doubt that they're going to give Ford the Red Hulk. I would hope so, but like, man, I mean that dude's old already. Like, maybe. Anyway, he's most likely joining as leader of the Thunderbolts. Well, probably, or part of the Thunderbolts of some sort. So that's something to look forward to in the future. Yeah. I love Harrison Ford. Even now,
I feel like that's like, you know how like you're like, okay, let's like, you're Marvel and you're like who's out there, right? Like who's like a dream shot, and he's like, but they'll probably not do it, like we're just like throw it at him and see if he will, and he feels like it, and like because he's at the point where it's like he only will take what he absolutely wants to do, so he's one of those lucky. He doesn't need any more roles, right? Like he's just like, okay, sure, this sounds like something will be fun to occupy myself for a few months. So it's like you really don't think that he's gonna say yes when I feel like when you offer it to him, right? It's just like, why not take the shot? And the fact that he actually says yes, you're just like, what? Like, oh, okay, like, okay, like, great.
He's a good fit for the role too.
He really is. I could totally see it.
That's a good one.
Being all gruff and like, and I feel like him and Ruffalo could have something in the future too, if he ever decides to make that move.
I had something, I don't remember what it was.
Sorry.
Anyway, yeah, good times. Okay, we're gonna wind it down because we've been talking about this one very far off topic towards the end here.
Sorry.
No, it's good. We knew
because we talked about Thunderbolts, so I really wanted to figure that would tie it in.
So that was She-Hulk, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you knew that in the last 5 minutes, but we were talking about that at one point during the show. Go watch it. We implore you to watch it. It was fun. Let us know how you think, what you think in the comments. Sound off. I'm happy to talk to everybody and anybody. And if you've made it this far into the show, what do I say? Man, it's been like a month since I've had to do a sign off. I did this before. What do I say to end the show?
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, as always,
we are the Modern Nerd,
and thank you for watching.